Somehow we're at the midpoint of the 2020s, a decade that began in the most uncertain way possible. And the effects of that beginning linger on to this day. There's really a feeling that we were all forced to grow up and mature no matter what age you are. Lock-in culture is at an all-time high, but I don't think many people have been as locked in as musicians have, especially rappers, with each year having memorable albums for a variety of reasons. And to mark the halfway point of the decade, I'm gonna tell you my top 10 albums of the 2020s so far. And my album of the year mutuals, this is a warning to you. I can already see the comments of how, oh, you gave this score to this doesn't match. Listen, man, I use album of the year during my morning and afternoon coffees. There will be some inconsistencies, so consider this video the most up to date. Also, sorry for this recording setup. I'm at my parents' place. I don't really have any of my equipment, but wait. Perfect. This bootleg Outkast album is gonna be my personality for the next week. So every one of these types of lists has to start with an honorable mentions list, and for the 2020s there could be like 20 different albums to fit into this category. But I had 3 albums that just barely missed the top 10, mainly for a bit that I'm doing later on, but any of these could be in my top 10 on any given day. Denzel Curry's King of the Mischievous South, specifically volume 1 because A, the cover's way harder, and B, I feel like the songs that he added on the full version didn't really add much to the whole experience. Still some of Denzel's hardest songs and best collabs. Pusha T's It's Almost Dry. He's mainly on this list because there's a Clipse-sized elephant in the top 10, but this album was easily one of my most played of 2022. But it does trail off in the second half. And finally, Freddie Gibbs and The Alchemist with Alfredo. This album was so essential to me during those 2020 lockdowns. Riding my bike and not knowing if the world's ending or not. It's short and sweet and has some of Freddie's best songs on it. Which brings us to the top 10 list, which I'm kicking off with the most talked about album of 2021, Kanye West's Donda. It's Kanye's final album before he retired from music, and honestly, what a genuinely proper send-off. It's weighed down by a lot of fat that could be trimmed, but then again, everything about this album had a maximalist approach. From the listening parties, the features, the drama surrounding it, the fact that a 27-song album got a 5-song deluxe is hilarious. It's just that everything around this release was super entertaining and reminiscent of that T-Lop era, just way more unhinged. The album is cold, despondent, yet still very soulful and true to Kanye, and super spiritually connected. I mean, this is a successor to Jesus is King. And you could tell Kanye's collaborators really cared about being on this project to make a lasting impact on the final album in his discography. There's so many highlights on this album, like the first actual song, Jail, which is a weirdly triumphant self-destruction anthem, and while he's self-destructing, he's killing everyone around him too. I'll be honest, we all liars. Off the Grid had Ye's best performance in years. Hurricane, Praise God, Moon, Keep My Spirit Alive, Pure Souls, all essential top-notch Ye songs. And if I could change one thing about this album, it would be adding Drake's version of 24 on here, but I don't think they were really seeing eye to eye around this time. Essentially, Donda can be boiled down to the ironic statement of least hectic Kanye release. And even though by far it's not his best work, it's still such a proper bookend to a legendary discography that could literally only be affected by something insane like Kanye becoming a Nazi. And the number 9 entry on my list goes to Jid's The Forever Story. I know this might come as a surprise to some of you because I know this is a lot of people's favorite rap album of the decade, but like, it's still in my top 10 ahead of so many other great projects, so chill out. But it's such a fitting title for this album because Jid is the best storyteller in rap right now. The way he's able to hold a timeline through a verse while still remaining like interesting lyrically, being technically impressive, having crazy rhyme schemes, and oftentimes being kind of tongue-in-cheek and funny. It's just insanely impressive writing. I mean, a song like 2007, even though that's on the extended version, is a perfect example of why The Forever Story is amazing. You get many bits and pieces of Jid's life, his youth, his first run-ins with street violence and politics, family issues, and his newfound fame highlighted on my favorite track on the album, Stars. Jid is bar for bar the most consistent rapper in the game right now, especially after God Does Like Ugly as well. But this guy can out-sing your ass too, so there's really no telling what's coming next. I admittedly don't go back to this album as much. I am a Jid fan, I'm not a Jid super fan. There are a handful of tracks in the second half that I don't really care about, like Can't Make You Change or Better Days. But yeah, shout out to Jid. I actually really want to go see him on tour this year. My number 8 spot goes to a legend, ScHoolboy Q's Blue Lips. This album was my favorite album of 2024, and it just goes to show how one year can make a difference in perspective when it comes to music. As I said in various videos, Blue Lips was my comfort album during a very stressful time. For whoever's been following the whole jaw tumor arc, I'm doing fine, don't worry. But after a year and a half of this album being out, it still holds up strong. I guess I should preface that Q is one of those artists that in my world cannot do any wrong musically, and a more instrumentally experimental album from Q fits into that category. It's a very zen album, it's still kind of moody, but I just think Q overall was in a peaceful state of mind when creating this, really dialing back, not chasing a hit compared to Crash Talk, and he was just making songs that he wanted to. You could tell he's sick of the industry though, how much he's praising his like accomplishments and how much much he's just chilling. He's satisfied with everything he's done in life. He's gotten so many plaques, but most importantly, his family, his kids, they're set for life. It's a victory lap for Q. He feels content and I feel happy for him. It's just sad to see how poorly this album performed. His feature on Thought I Was Dead almost has more streams than the entirety of Blue Lips. And speaking of Tyler, my number 7 slot goes to Tyler the Creator's Call Me If You Get Lost. Man, I have beef with this album. I've gone back and forth with loving and hating it, mainly because of how braggadocious it is. And of course, a lot of rap is based on braggadocio, but for some reason with Tyler, it really makes me want to work on myself, and that reminder kind of stings. Because everything he's done, he's achieved by himself, like with his own 2 hands and brain. It's equally inspiring as it is kind of like, damn, what was I doing? And don't quote the whole duality is tiring lyric from the Deluxe. I'm not actually saying he's bragging too much. I want him to brag. He's earned every right to brag. I just feel like on his album specifically, it creates a little bit of a weird balance between being so confident and frail on the same track. But I've come to love that aspect of Tyler, especially after Chromacopia. But anyway, we're talking about this album here, which is summery. It's bright. It's the home to some of Tyler's best tracks yet. Sweet I Thought You Wanted to Dance is like a musical feat of a track. It's insane how he's able to create this. I hope he makes more tracks like this. It's so good. And similarly to Blue Lips, Call Me If You Get Lost is a victory lap, but less of a personal victory, more of a financial success victory, while using that to mask other negative parts of his life, like he talked about on Wilshire. But a very relatable, unrelatable album. Now, I know for this next entry, I'm gonna get a lot of hate, but listen, man, we are in the big 2025. Music is the most accessible it's ever been. You can listen to whatever you want. People listen to anything from TikTok, AI, slop, to Quadeca. Shout out to Quadeca, that wasn't a diss. So when I tell you that my 6th favorite album of the 2020s so far is Culture 3 by Migos, I need you to relax. No, seriously though, I recognize this album is not as polished and had maybe an ounce of effort that Jid's album had in it, but this is a moment where we all gotta remember that music also exists outside of the internet. Summer 2021 was the calm before the storm, and when I could still bite an apple. And Culture 3 came around the time of my birthday, so it was a soundtrack to a lot of like hangouts and trips and just moments with my friends. And for even more context, I've been a Migos fan since Versace. I've been a Migos super fan since Back to the Bando. I know ball. But outside of just memories and fun, the album was a really great addition to the Migos catalog. Unfortunately, it did end up being the final album in their discography due to the murder of Takeoff just a year later. Rest in peace to the legend. The Migos chemistry was at an all-time high on this project, with some of their most infectious and energetic tracks. But one song in particular, Avalanche, became one of my favorite Migos songs, period. The Temptation sample made the beats so classy, with each Migo having a catchy, memorable verse. It just worked so well. The album gained a lot of importance to me after the demise of the group, and it'll always have a special place in my heart. Halfway through our list, number 5, it's Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Slight change of tone compared to the previous one. The album that Drake called a brick, the album that J. Cole called tragic, but yeah, well, it is tragic. An overly open record that honestly, seeing how disrespectful a lot of rap fans are, we don't deserve this kind of shit. It's always been a tough listen, man, because it does inspire that self-reflection. The album cover may as well be a mirror, as Kendrick's not only pointing out his own flaws, but also ours. But it is a very product of its own time kind of release, mainly because of a lot of what Kendrick was closing off the album with. The whole I choose me, I'm sorry idea kind of got thrown out of the window during the Drake beef, where he really kind of submerged himself back into the industry that he was really criticizing, and he submerged himself more than ever. Also, the album's very pandemic influenced because of the whole self-reflection thing, and some of the songs referencing it, which kind of leaves a bad taste in my ears. Still though, Savior is a top tier Kendrick song. It's still Kendrick's most important album to him specifically, but I also think we're going to be talking about it for years to come. And at number 4, I swear I didn't set this up this way, it just kind of happened. It's Run the Jewels with Run the Jewels 4. It's crazy to think that this album is the oldest one on my list, yet it sounds the most futuristic. June 2020 obviously was a shit show for a multitude of reasons, and Run the Jewels came out swinging with another politically charged, aggressive, explosive album. Front to back, you hear raw thoughts from Killer Mike and LP on top of LP's insane production. Yet this album takes a much more serious tone compared to their last ones. Walking in the Snow, Pulling the Pin, A Few Words. All these songs are very like almost like uncomfortably emotional and deep, especially if you travel back to the moment when this album came out. Being locked down and hearing rebellious music, especially during the protests that were going around at that time, really left an impression, and the album definitely holds up half a decade later. I'm really not even sure where Run the Jewels is gonna go from here. I know they're touring right now, and they also have like a beer. Mike's in the most successful era of his career, so who knows. As much as I'd love to hear a new Run the Jewels album, I wouldn't even be mad if Run the Jewels 4 was the bookend because of how great it was. And we've reached the top 3 albums of the current decade, which wasn't that hard to figure out. 2 of these albums solidify themselves like the day they came out. But anyway, first up we have at number 3, Tyler the Creator's Chromacopia. Yeah, Tyler gets 2 entries on this list, which I'm normally really against, but Call Me If You Get Lost and Chromacopia are such sonically different albums, and they almost accomplish different things that I had to include both. One is a Tyler the Creator album, and the other is a Tyler Akoma album. And Chromacopia exists in the realm of albums I like to call owning up to your shit rap, with 444, Mr. Morale, Herbert, and even Chance's new album. The concept of taking off your mask and becoming honest with yourself obviously sticks, especially coming from someone that's so brash and confident as Tyler. It feels more genuine. I love the production on this album. As with every Tyler project, he's grabbing from different genres and sounds. I could point out Sticky for being like a progressive marching band West Coast anthem, or Noid, a rock influenced rap panic attack of a song. It just does not get dull at any moment. And after seeing him perform this live, woo, it really boosted up in my rankings. That's really a cheat code for rappers. Like, if you're a good performer and you release a solid body of work, you're gonna like skyrocket, at least in my rankings. It's just the perfect blend of early like self-deprecating Tyler and more mature Tyler that really grew into his own shoes and fame, and he became more wise and stuff. And if my next entry on this list doesn't win the Rap Grammy of Album of the Year, I hope Tyler does. But I don't know, man. Heading to my number 2 on the list, it's every real rap fan's Album of the Year currently, Clipse, Let God Sort Him Out. How could you not like this thing, man? It's a hip-hop fan's wet dream. The comeback of a legendary group, clever raps with the emphasis on coke raps, and it's all over Pharrell Williams production. I may have busted. And I'm a big Pusha T fan, specifically his soul work. I feel like every one of his albums had a lot to take from, a lot of gems. And I've always just been a fan of his steady flow, his like very intentional writing, and just the charisma. So just double all that, tighten a few screws, and you have one of the best albums of the decade. Obviously, that's not me saying Malice is just a copy of Pusha T, because he does a lot of stuff Push can't. It's just that the energy is equal. Whether it's on an emotional cut like the Ode to Their Parents, The Birds Don't Sing, or the menacing and hypnotic So Be It, or just more shimmering tracks like Mike Tyson or Ace Trumpets, there's not a single skip on this album. And even on a song like FICO or So Far Ahead, where the verses develop a little slower, it's a bit slower pace, the bounce Pharrell adds to these beats really just captures me every time. And I know a lot of people have been complaining about Pharrell's vocal contributions to this project, but honestly, that juxtaposition was well needed considering how similar Clipse can sound to each other. I had the best time listening to this album for the first time live with you guys, and I'm being completely honest, at least one song from this album has been in my rotation every day since it dropped. And we've reached the top of my list, my number 1 album of the 2020s so far. And I feel like some of you might be confused. This album solidified itself in this act's discography immediately for me. The tightest songs, the best rapping, the heaviest production, the most potent emotions. It's Brockhampton's Roadrunner, New Light, New Machine. When I tell you, man, I was steeping myself in this album when it came out every day, multiple spins a day. I bought merch. I even bought tickets to the live virtual show they did, as embarrassing as that is to admit, as well as the eventual tour tickets that they ended up canceling because of the disbandment. The only thing I never ended up getting was a CD, so if any of the ex-members see this on their feed, please hit me up. I'm pretty sure like Dom and maybe Kevin and like Amir are aware of me. Not that that last one would help much with this. But anyway, I've been a Brockhampton fan since 2017. And I remember a friend hitting me up to go to see their show for like $30. And I said no because I'm stupid and I was studying. Who cares? And in retrospect, the tension that broke the group up was kind of present on this album. There are some songs where there's only 2 members on it, which makes it pretty obvious. But I think despite everything, this album came out nearly flawless. Buzzcut is an all-time great intro. Chain On reminds me of how good Technical Difficulties would have been. And the collabs with people like Rocky and Ferg and Charlie Wilson came out amazing. And I stand behind this statement. While Brockhampton was active, let's say from 2017 to 2021, they were the best produced hip-hop act out at that moment. There was really not a sound that they couldn't do. So shout out to people like Ramil and Kiko and Jabari. And I think every vocal member on this album had a huge standout moment. Whether it's Merlin on Bankroll, Kevin on Buzzcut, Dom on Chain On, or the person whose tragedy was the cornerstone of this album, Joba, with the album's concept being about finding the light even in the darkest moments. And that concept was translated so well throughout the visuals. I remember the CDs, their outfits around this time, the different color hair. I mean, they looked insane, but it worked so well. I just wish the guys mended better, because with an album that has I'll Take You On and Don't Shoot Up the Party on it, they were destined for even greater things. But yeah, those are my top 10 albums of the 2020s so far. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your list is. Even if your top 10 list is just copy and pasted off of Rate Your Music, don't worry, I won't tell anyone. We're friends. Have a good day.